Good morning. My name is Abraham, son of Terah. Today I have the pleasure of announcing the long-awaited pregnancy of my wife Sarah. As many of you know, this pregnancy was predicted many years ago by the Lord. The baby will be a boy and his name will be Isaac.
If your wife just became pregnant, how do you know already that it will be a boy?
If the Lord predicted 10 years in advance that a barren woman will give birth to a baby, is it so much more difficult for him to predict the sex of the child?
You mentioned that the Lord specified that the baby be named Isaac?
That's right.
Isaac is Hebrew for laughter. Why would the Lord specify the name laughter?
10 years ago, when the Lord first predicted that my wife would become pregnant, she laughed.
Why did she laugh?
At that time, Sarah was not only unable to bear children, but she was also about 30 years beyond childbearing age. She thought the Lord was joking.
And now, at 40 years past childbearing age, Sarah is going to give birth?
That's right.
How do you explain that?
Well, I think it's obvious. The same God who predicted the pregnancy also miraculously created the pregnancy.
Abraham, you already have a son named Ishmael, whom you previously touted as the fulfillment of the Lord's prediction.
What can I say? We were wrong. We grew impatient of waiting for a pregnancy in Sarah, so we took matters into our own hands. I fathered a child with my wife's maidservant as tradition prescribed. But as many of you know, the traditions of men are often in conflict with the will of God.
It looks as if you now have two firstborn sons. How will you decide who inherits the rights of the firstborn son?
First, let me say that the Lord has big plans for the son of Sarah's maidservant. The Lord has predicted that Ishmael will be the father of many great nations in the future. But the Lord has even larger plans for my son Isaac, and it will be Isaac who will inherit the rights of the firstborn, even though he is not the first one born.
Why is the Lord going against tradition?
Because conferring special rights on the firstborn son is a tradition of man, not of God. Giving a child special status because of the order of his birth is superficial. It means nothing to God.
Are you saying that this is the beginning of the end for the rights of the firstborn?
Unfortunately, people will continue to ignore God's will and give special importance to their firstborn sons. But the Lord looks deeper than the order of one's birth. He sees what's in the heart of a man. The Lord will give the rights of the firstborn to the man whose heart is right toward God.
Are you saying that there will be more second-born sons in the future who will be given firstborn status?
As a matter of fact, it will be even more extreme than that. The Lord has predicted that Isaac is the first in the line of many descendants who will one day give birth to the Savior of mankind. Among these descendants will be a second-born, an eighth-born and a seventh-born.
Is it true that you plan to circumcise Isaac?
On the 8th day after his birth.
This is a new ritual.
Yes. It was demanded by the Lord of Isaac and all his descendants.
Why would the Lord demand such a bloody ritual?
To remind all of Isaac's descendants that they are in the chain of descendants to the Savior of mankind.
But there are less painful reminders.
That's true. But the Lord chose a reminder that carries a description of the Savior. The cutting off of the flesh in circumcision is a reminder that the Savior will shed his blood for us and will himself be cut off.
Cut off? You mean die?
The Savior will be born of man to pay for the sins of man. And the only payment for sins is the shedding of blood. The circumcision of Isaac and his descendants will be a constant prediction of that sacrifice. And I thank the Lord that I can play a small part in that prediction. Thank you all for coming.
Based on a play by Bob Snook. Conditions for use: do not sell any part of this script, even if you rewrite it.
Pay no royalties, even if you make money from performances.
You may reproduce and distribute this script freely, but all copies must contain this copyright statement.